Hey everyone, thank you for coming and attending my lecture series, Taking Control of Language Impairment After Stroke and Brain Injury. Today we're going to be talking about communication strategies to help you talk clearer if you have dysarthria. We're going to be focusing on specifically flaccid dysarthria strategies today. So my name is Liz. I am the owner and speech language pathologist at Healthy Speech Solutions, specialize in online speech therapy care in North Carolina and Florida. So remember, what we talked about in our last lecture together is that dysarthria is a speech disorder that can cause from muscle weakness or muscle discoordination. So if you take a look at this poor gentleman over here, he has this, so this on one side of his mouth, the right side of his mouth is very clear. You see how he's able to arch it up. He has a lot more range of motion here. On this side of his mouth, he's having weakness. And you notice how one side's up higher than the other. So if you're having muscle weakness on one side of the body, and if it's not working like it's supposed to, it's going to make it very difficult to go ta. You might say ta. You may want to say a wa. You can't close your lips enough to be able to produce it. You might get a strong sound, but it's going to be hard to move your lips around in a circular motion to get that ba sound, because you don't have the control of this side of your mouth to be able to produce those sounds clearly when communicating. So we're going to be talking, like I said earlier, we're going to be talking about flaccid dysarthria because it's a type of dysarthria that occurs from muscle weakness from cranial nerve impairment. So these are techniques that can help if there's a cranial nerve impairment that has caused a weakness in your voice when communicating. So we're going to talk about the speech therapy strategies. I love this acronym, and it's called Be Slow. Okay, so remember, be slow. B means breathe. S means slow down. L means loud, and O means over exaggerate. And we're going to go through all of these different terminologies and explain how it can improve your ability to communicate. So breathe. I love this picture. I want to do that right now. Go outside and just breathe. So breathe is important for communication because we need breath support to communicate, to speak louder. If someone doesn't have really good breath support, or a dog like us, because they're not getting the air to pass through the vocal cords, which is what they need to get a nice, beautiful sound out. How are you today? Is that they're talking without air passing through their vocal cords. Someone has an effort of a voice. Oh, how are you doing? I'm so strained. And it's because the muscles are really tight. And when those muscles are really tight, it makes it very difficult for air to pass through for a clear vocal quality when you're communicating. If you have really good breath support, breathe through the nose, out through the mouth. Your diaphragm pushes all that air out to communicate. You're going to be able to get clear speech. And when you get clear speech, you're going to be able to talk louder. Kind of exciting. And also breathe is important to remember that when we're communicating, it's really important to be able to pause between our sentences. And that can be a good reminder to get you to slow down. So this one, that was a good leeway, right? And to speak slow. I love my sign, slow speed limit 5. Love it. Perfect for this picture. So it's so important to speak slow is that if you're having difficulty communicating, you gotta slow down. Absolutely. And this can even help with children who are stuttering as well. When you go, how are you today? I'm doing really just fine. I was like, whoa, it just went over my head. I have no idea what you just said. As a listener, I didn't have an opportunity to process what the person was saying to be able to understand that they were saying, how are you today? Because it just went way too fast. Because if someone's having difficulty communicating as a listener, the listener has to listen to what was heard, has to process the information, which will take longer if they're having difficulty understanding. And then after they process it, they can respond. But if you're talking really, really quickly, they don't have an opportunity to process it. They're going to process the first thing they heard, and they're going to miss everything else that you said because they're just trying to understand a little bit of what you're trying to communicate. Also, if your sounds in your speech aren't sounding appropriately, If they're not, you're having difficulty communicating in some capacity, like the B's aren't sounding like the B's, the K's are maybe sound like a T's instead, the R's is sounding like maybe a W, that kind of thing, that sounds just aren't appropriate. Or even T's just sound like a puh, like a because you just can't move that tongue that you need to communicate. Speak slower can give your body a chance to produce the sounds that you want to produce. And it gives you a chance to move that tongue around a little bit more that you're supposed to, that you may not be able to when you talk clearly. Okay, I need speech therapy. So speak loudly. This is important. If someone is struggling to understand the consonants that you're producing and you're talking softly, it's going to be a lot harder for them to be able to understand you because you're talking softly. So if you talk loudly, then that way we don't have to worry about can they even hear you. If someone's hard of hearing and you're having articulation issues at the same time, the person listening is going to absolutely struggle trying to understand the person who's communicating. So speak loudly. There's also a lot of dysarthrias out there that causes speech to talk really softly, like with Parkinson's disease. It's very common for Parkinson's disease to start to talk really softly and have like a hoarse, rough voice. And it can make it very difficult for someone to understand. So it's important to speak loud when you're communicating. Over-exaggerate your speech when speaking. I picked this picture because these two adorable children here, she's going, oh, so she's really exaggerating her lip movement. She's going, ah, like they're having a fabulous conversation together. And it's really an example of over-exaggerating your speech movements when you're communicating. So if your muscles aren't working like they're supposed to, and you just can't produce those sounds, something as simple as exaggerating the movement of your tongue can help fix the problem. So if you're trying to say, and your muscles, they're not opening, closing like they're supposed to because you have a cranial nerve issue that's affecting your ability to move your tongue. If you go, ta, how are you? Suddenly, you can activate the cranial nerve and you can activate the muscles to get you to try to produce the sounds a little bit better. It's pretty awesome, I think. Gotta love the Be Slow acronym. Breathe, okay? Slow down, loud, and over-exaggerate your speech. So when no one is looking, okay? A lot of people like to talk to themselves in the mirror when no one's looking, okay? We all do the silliest things when no one's looking. Well, this is a really good situation to practice on your own. Practice in front of a mirror. Watch your lips. Watch your tongue. Practice over-exaggerating your sounds when you're speaking. And watch how quickly your mouth moves. Watch how you speak. Check in with your breath support. How are you breathing? I'm touching my abdomen muscles right now. Check in with how loud you're sounding. I want you to watch yourself in the mirror. I want you to check in on how you're looking. And when you're exaggerating your speech, I don't want you to talk like this because that looks ridiculous. But when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, you can play around with your ability to over-exaggerate and find that good middle ground where you talk clearer, but it's not obvious to other people that you're exaggerating your speech. So looking in the mirror will help you. So I want to say thank you so much for attending my lecture again on communication strategies to improve your ability to talk after you have a dysarthria, whether it's from a brain injury or from a stroke. I hope you've been enjoying my lecture series, and please keep an eye out for my next lecture. It's going to be focusing on Wernicke's aphasia. Talk to you soon. Bye.